be the final play of the college season, perhaps, if Clemson gets a touchdown to win it. If Bama can hold them out, perhaps a field goal attempt for overtime. Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow. Little man makes another enormous play. 1 second remaining.
What up, people? It's the Dub Podcast on I Live for Saturdays, the best college football channel on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at I Live for Saturdays, 4 as in the number 4. And that was Chris Fowler on Clemson's national championship touchdown. That was the call from ESPN. Hopefully no copyrights thing happens, but from what I know, if I criticize it or I talk about it, it's fine. So that was good, Chris Fowler. Anyway, college football season is over, man. I'm sad. I'm happy. I'm tired. I'm overjoyed. I'm excited. It was a good season in college football. And it's always a good season when your team does really well, my Hokies, or at least exceeds expectations. Like my Hokies did. We went 10-4 and an epic comeback against Arkansas. It was awesome. Clemson, their national championship run was pretty awesome to watch. It's a team that it's been a punching bag for years. You know, Clemsoning, was the verb in college football used for teams that would choke throughout the season or at some point at the season against a mediocre or below average team. And it's pretty cool to see a program that went from that to on top of the college football world. So hats off to Clemson. Shout out to Clemson Cameron, a buddy of mine that I've known through the internet for a few years. And I'm almost 100% certain that he was crying his eyes out when they finally lift that trophy. So shout out to him, man. Congrats, buddy. Also, big shout out to Dabo Swinney. Dabo with a really weird, different, stereotypical Southern name, Dabo. And this should be a lesson to everybody to not judge a book by its cover, or at least not by its name, because Dabo Swinney has proven time and time again that he is one of the elite coaches in this game. And this is me talking about Dabo in the Last Dub podcast. I like Dabo. He has proven me wrong time and time again. I thought he was a rah-rah cheerleader type of coach when I first saw him, his first game. I forgot who it was exactly. I thought he was 100% rah-rah. And I'm not far off on that, because he is definitely that, cheerleader type coach. But, don't sleep on Dabo. Dabo's a lot smarter than people give him credit. This is the same dude who has completely dominated the ACC these last, 3 years? And this is the same dude that has already beat Urban. This is the same dude that went toe-to-toe with Bob Stoops and he wrecked him. This is the same guy that was almost a trick onside kick play from beating Alabama. Also, hope this national championship run and stuff that I've been saying since the beginning of the summer, how much recruiting matters. And yeah, we kind of all know, most of us know, but we still got some people out here that say recruiting don't matter and rankings don't matter and stars don't matter. Nah, bruh. 5 stars, 4 stars, that matters. You being a 2-star, yes, that matters. And this national championship proves once again that national championships are won in recruiting. And the metric that I've been pushing since the summer was the metric that was, I don't know if discovered, but definitely made popular by Clay Travis. Not a guy that I necessarily like, but he brought up an awesome metric and an awesome point that you need to have 2 top 10 recruiting classes in the last 4 years so that you have a chance at the national championship. And it's a metric ever since the year 1996, I think it was. So the last 20 years, and there's only been one team, Oklahoma in 2000. There's only been one team to be able to do that. And Clemson, once again, like I showed in the summer, they had 2 top 10 recruiting classes, and they won a national championship game. And what did Alabama have? More than 2 top 10 recruiting classes, but they definitely fit that criteria of having at least 2 top 10 recruiting classes in the last 4 years. So again, recruiting absolutely 100% matters. By the way, Ohio State was also in that metric. Also, I'm going to propose a change in that metric because there was 106 teams back in 1996, and today, in today's time, it's 128 teams now in college football. I think that metric needs to move, and I crunched the numbers. That number should be moved to just 11. Just 11. So now I'm going to push that idea that it's not top 10 recruiting classes anymore. It's top 11 because percentage-wise, obviously that matters extremely math-wise. So I'm going to push that you need to have top 11. So I will include in my next preseason rankings that you need to have 2 top 10 recruiting classes in the top 11. Because you know me, I love the numbers. If you haven't noticed, my college football semifinal preview had everything to do with pure metrics and pure numbers. A lot of that came true, if not most of that came true in the game. And it was determined by, of course, sacks and turnovers. My idea that I like to push. So, I am now pushing the top 10, 11 in recruiting. Also very popular, conference records. For whatever reason in college football, you guys love to talk about conference records. To me, I think it's interesting, but I don't think there's anything more almost ridiculous than conference record or conference bowl record. I don't know why in college football there's this weird thing. Well, I guess I kind of know why. The SEC, and it made more money back in 2007, 2006-ish, 2008-ish, where they, I would say overhyped the SEC. Maybe one day I'll do a video about that. And I just found it really ridiculous that people used to talk about whose conference is better, and if you were a bad team on a good conference, that somehow validated your team's crappy season. To me, that makes no sense. It doesn't happen in soccer. It doesn't happen in the NFL. It doesn't happen in the NBA, NHL, from what I know. But for whatever reason, in college football, people make themselves feel better because their conference is overall pretty good. I don't know why that makes people feel better, but it does. And I'll show you guys. Here is what y'all want. I'll get what the people want. Here is the bowl records pulled out to you, and records versus FCS. So obviously ACC 30-13, pretty solid with a great bowl record of 6-3. That's their combined record right there. See the Big Ten 26-8, bowl record 3-7. Man, that's a drop. And you see their combined record at 29-15. Big 12 12-9 record versus FBS. And their bowl record also an improvement, 4-2. And their combined record 16-11. So not terrible, but definitely behind the Big Ten and the ACC. Pac-12 19-9. Bowl record not so great of a 3-3. Combined record of a 22-12. And the SEC, the mighty SEC, 29-13 versus FBS. This is also, by the way, FBS. That is obviously during the regular season. If you haven't noticed, their bowl record 6-6, combined 35-19. So percentage-wise, The best conference this year was the ACC. Second was the Big Ten. Third was barely the SEC. Right behind by 0.1% was the Pac-12, and the Big 12. That's Big 12. SEC has been getting a lot of criticism in these last few years. But the Big 12 has really, really declined, and I'm not necessarily sure why it has. They have decent coaches, and they always will have great quarterbacks for the most part. But I just don't know. Maybe Nebraska, Texas A&M, Colorado, and Missouri leaving. I guess, if you have 4 teams leave your conference, you're going to take a hit, eventually. Even if you had good teams like West Virginia and TCU, you're going to take a hit. So, yeah, I'm not sure why, but it's just happening in the Big 12. So, yeah, there's your freaking bowl and conference record versus FBS and combined records. Talk all y'all want about that. I don't care that much. It's interesting to me, but it's not one of the top 5 most things it's most important. I'll talk about it, and I made this video because y'all, you guys drive the bus. I'm going to talk about what you guys like to talk about because that's how you get views. But there's your freaking bowl records, and there your conference records. But one thing that does interest me, because there's a lot of SEC fanboys, and I've been saying this since the 2013 Sugar Bowl, Louisville versus Florida. Was it 2013? Someone fact check me on that. I've been saying when Teddy Bridgewater tore up Florida in the Sugar Bowl that from that point, and I said it on that day, I don't have it on this account and I don't have it on YouTube, but I said it on that day, the SEC was going to be on a decline. And what I saw from that was, oh my gosh, the SEC really doesn't have a quarterback. On top of, they're constantly going to be sending their defensive and offensive players to the NFL very early in their junior year or redshirt sophomore year. And at that time, a lot of teams that were supposed to be good, that had a lot of seniors, had a bunch of team players that were obviously seniors and were about to leave to the NFL. So from that point, I knew the next year they'd be pretty poor, and they were. But I also realized that, oh my gosh, they really don't have a quarterback this whole conference. And even when they get those 5-star quarterbacks, they ruin them. And they'll just never figure out that, hey, I need to develop this quarterback and not just tell them, hey, throw it to this really big, super athletic future first-round pick wide receiver or tight end. Or, hey, just hand it off to this big old 5-star recruit running back and let him run behind this huge offensive line. And you just never develop as a quarterback because we're going to win a lot of games that way. So that's what I saw, and I just realized that. And then on top of that, the SEC kept throwing away all their coaches, and all the conferences were getting better and better coaches. Jim Harbaugh eventually came back. Urban Meyer went up north. Jimbo Fisher was on the rise. Dabo Swinney was on the rise. Everyone around them, Louisville as well, was on the rise, and the SEC stayed complacent. And they didn't, and they still don't understand that QB development is important. Now, in today, the SEC has never been more in shambles than it is today. And the main reason is because, again, they don't understand that they need to develop quarterbacks. But also, Nick Saban is pretty much the only coach in the entire conference that is any good. Besides Kevin Sumlin, I mean, honestly, who's the second best head coach in that conference? I like Jim McElwain. I still kind of want to give him a shot. He's had quarterback problems that I don't believe it's his fault. And I thought he was doing a pretty decent job his first year developing his quarterbacks until they all got injured, essentially. So I still want to give Joe McElwain a shot. So I do like Jim McElwain. But besides that and Kevin Sumlin, I mean, who in the damn SEC is any good? Brett Bielema, he's a freaking choke artist. Dan Mullen, and I like Dan Mullen. I just don't think he's going to replicate what he did before. And again, I like Dan Mullen. I really do. I don't want to disrespect him, but I just don't think he's going to replicate what he did with Dak Prescott. Butch Jones, I mean, I don't even know. Does anyone have a real opinion on Butch Jones? Kirby Smart looks like a freaking mess. I mean, honestly, who in the SEC is a guy that is a home run hitter? Who in the SEC is someone who's known for special abilities and is just fantastic? I mean, Kevin Sumlin. Besides, obviously, Nick Saban. Kevin Sumlin, probably that's it. You look at the ACC. You got David Cutcliffe. You got Justin Fuente. You got Dabo Swinney. You got Jimbo Fisher. Bobby Petrino. These are all special coaches. Larry Fedora. Special Pat Narduzzi. All very special coaches. The Big Ten, Lovie Smith, Jim Harbaugh, Urban Meyer, PJ Fleck is at Minnesota now. James Franklin. I mean, there's just star power in terms of coaches in the Big Ten. The SEC, they got Derek Mason. Yeah, that's what the SEC got. Coaches and QBs, if you want your conference, which is weird, but if you want a conference to have success, you need great coaches and you need great QBs. And it's kind of a minor problem, actually kind of a somewhat major problem in college football. Now, college football gets pretty decent ratings. I know from just what people talk about in general, college football has done fantastic on Saturday nights, a night that is terrible for television. So college football, for the most part, is pretty stable and it's pretty healthy. But college football, like myself and most people that are hardcore fans, we want and we need college football to take that next jump into establishing themselves somewhere in the top 3 or top 4 of the elite sports in America. Because right now, I'd say the elite sports are the NFL, the NBA, and probably soccer. And I don't mean soccer as the MLS. I mean soccer as, international soccer, a little bit of the MLS, but not really. The EPL, the Premier League in England, La Liga in Spain, and the Bundesliga. So all that combined, I think right now, those 3 sports are definitely the most dominant sports in America today. And college football kind of wants to put themselves in that position. And you should. If you're a hardcore fan, you should want that. Because that means great things for everybody. This national championship game had a lower rating than last year. And this game might have been better. Ohio State, just to give you a little bit of a perspective, Ohio State got an 18 rating. Clemson versus Alabama, 2017 National Championship, 15.3. Now, that's not terrible, but that's a pretty strong percentage down. That's a lot of money lost. That was probably projected, a game that was probably projected to do a little bit more than that. And the reason it got a low rating, not because the game was bad. The game was pretty freaking awesome. But Alabama and Clemson, not necessarily the most popular programs. Clemson's in South Carolina, and Alabama's, in Alabama. And not huge populations. How many people do you know if you don't live in South Carolina or even on the East Coast? If you live in the West Coast, how many Clemson or Alabama alumni do you know? Or have you seen? How many Clemson or Alabama flags have you seen? How many sweaters of Alabama or Clemson have you seen? If you live in the Midwest. If you live in Texas. Not that many. College football needs the big brands. The Texas. The USCs. The Miamis. The Notre Dames. The Ohio States. In the national championship game. They need these programs to be great. Now, maybe Clemson and Alabama continue their awesome success and they start building some traction and they start building a new fan base. But I don't think they will. I don't think Alabama will. I think they're too boring. You know, if you think about Nick Saban's program at Alabama, I mean, what do you think of? Hard work and effort? I mean, extreme discipline? I don't know, you know? It's not like Miami back in the 80s. It was tons of fun. Clemson, they have a chance. That's a fun team. Dabo Swinney, you know, I've said before, you know, he's kind of a cheerleader coach. You know, that's attractive to people. So maybe Clemson has a chance if they continue on awesome success. But as of now, college football really, really needs one of those huge money-making programs to really push it and be very successful so that all of us can profit by that in some way, shape, or form. And how do we do that? I don't really have a great answer for it. Colin Cowherd, you know, a guy that I love listening to, you know, and tell me what you think. He said that why not, the more wins you get or the better you do in your bowl games, your bowl record, championship record, your conference record, playoffs-wise, you go to the semifinals, you know, the more you get in that, the more scholarships you lose. And I think that's an all right idea. But what would be the limit? I would need the specifics of all that. If my team wins 3 years in a row, are we eventually going to have like 53 players on our team? You know, are we going to have to go take 50 kids on a bus against 85 plus? You know, I don't know necessarily what the details of all that is, but it's an interesting thought. I just don't know how that will work. So tell me what you guys think about that idea. My idea is pretty simple, and I think it would help. I don't think it'll be that quickly or that drastically and that easily as Colin Cowherd's idea. You know, just completely just start taking scholarships away from championship teams. I have a little bit more simple idea. And tell me what you guys think. I like to change the rule where you essentially can sign as many players as you want, but you only can enroll 25 players. Today, people abuse that, and I've even said, you know, my team, Virginia Tech, to abuse that rule as well, to sign over 25 players so that we have a bigger pool to select from when we actually need to enroll 25 new players or give out 25 scholarships. So, you know, to me, I think if college football enforces and sets that rule until you can only sign 25 guys, I think that leaves a whole mess of pool full of players that can have great, better parity in college football. Because now Tennessee can't sign those 8 extra players. Alabama can't get those 4 extra players. And right there, that's already 12 pretty solid players that were good enough to have a scholarship offer to Tennessee and Alabama. So now again, those 12 players that were good enough to play at Alabama, they trickle down to North Carolina. And now those North Carolina players, those 7 or 6 players that were going to go to North Carolina, those players eventually trickle down to Wake Forest, so on and so forth. And I think if you just enforce that rule, you could only sign 25, no more loophole bullshit, then I believe you could have a much better parity in college football. So tell me what you guys think. If you like that idea, what's your idea to make college football have more parity and increase the ratings in national championship games? So that's pretty much it. Future stuff I will be doing, and I already have the title of what I said. My research of Clemson's journey to the national championship game, starting from its roots, starting from before Dabo, before all this, before 2015, before 2014, before all that happened. How did this all happen? How did Clemson rise to the top? And I've already started my research. I got some good stuff. The title will be The Rise of Clemson. Not that complex, not that smart, but gets my idea out pretty well. Also, let me know what you guys want me to talk about in the off season. What podcasts you guys want to see? I'm already doing a few revisionist draft podcasts with the Big E, Eric. I got some Friday Night Tech stuff. I had a poll on Twitter, and I asked the people, what did you guys want me to talk about more in the off season? NFL, NBA, soccer, or more college football news. College football news 1, or off season news 1. That means I have to do a recruiting podcast. That's pretty cool. But give me other ideas. Even if it is college football off season news, what type of off season news? Conference type news, individual player news. More serious issues that happen in college football. I've kind of stayed away from that because I don't want to say one word that destroys my life. And that's just the world we live in today. But if I think I can be safe in a podcast, I'll put it out if it's good enough and I can be safe and ensure my life doesn't get ruined because I say one word wrong. That's pretty much it. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at I Live for Saturdays. 4 as in the number 4. And peace.